In this video, we will study about 2D arrays, or it is also called as matrices. As we have already studied, array consists of one subscript, but a matrix consists of two subscripts. One is for row and the second one is for column. So the first subscript will be for row and the second one will be for column. And this will be the name of the matrix. So if you have got 3 rows, the index of an array always starts from 0. Similarly, the index of matrices always starts from 0. So 3 rows means 0, 1 and 2. And 5 columns means it again starts with 0 till n minus 1. This is the way a matrix is declared. First, the data type. Then we have the name of the matrix followed by the number of rows and the number of columns. There are two methods in which a matrix is stored in memory. An array is stored linearly inside the memory, that is, all the elements are stored in consecutive memory locations. But let's see how a matrix is stored in memory. So the first method is row major order. In row major order, the matrix is stored as a linear array itself, but first row 0 will be stored, then row 1 followed by row 2. In column major order, first the column is stored, then column 1 is stored, and then finally column 2 is stored. So in both the cases, a matrix is stored as a linear array and in consecutive locations. Now, how to initialize a 2D array? In order to give the value to a 2D array, like what we saw for an array, we could give the values separated by commas like this. So, first would be row 0, then it would be row 1 and so on. It could be also done inside separate brackets like this. So, in both the methods, M00 will be 90, M01 will be 87, M02 will be 78. So 00 means 0th row and 0th column. 01 means 0th row and first column. So this element. Then we have 02. So that is 0th row and the second column. So this element. And likewise. Now how can we input values to a 2D array? We can use a scanf statement. So similar to writing that of an array, a single dimensional array, we could write an extension for a two-dimensional array. Only thing extra will be the second subscript which is used for a column. But remember to use two for loop. The first for loop is for row and the second for loop will be for column. So what we are going to use here is a nested for loop. The same method can be applied for outputting values from a 2D array. You can print that values using a printf statement. Again use two for loop or nested for loop. The first one for row and the second one for column. There are certain operations to be performed on 2D arrays or matrices. So let's see each one. The first one is to add two matrices. Addition of two matrices means you have to add matrix A with matrix B and produce a matrix C as the result. So corresponding values are added and the result is placed in this position. In order to add two matrices, first of all, declare the matrices A, B and C, which will be the resultant matrix. We will require a couple of variables, that is row, column, then few counter variables for the for loops. Next, we have to prompt the user to enter the number of rows and columns, and that is scan to row and column. In order to read the array elements or the matrix element, we have to use a nested for loop like what we saw in the previous slides. Similarly, enter the elements of matrix 2. To find the sum of two matrices, it's as simple as adding two elements and giving the value to a third variable. But remember to use two for loops. You could also add a condition over here to check if the number of rows and columns of the first matrix is equal to number of rows and columns of the second matrix. This ensures that the size of both the matrices are same. If not, you can print a statement saying that the size of the matrix is not same and you could exit. Otherwise, you can perform the matrix operation. Once you found out the result, then you have to print the matrix. So in order to do that, after every row, we have to give a new line character. This ensures that each row of the matrix is printed on a new line. So transpose of a matrix means we are going to exchange the rows and columns. So row 1 will become column 1, row 2 will become column 2, and so on. So declare two matrices. First one is the input matrix and the second one will be the output matrix. We'll require a couple of variables. Prompt the user to enter the matrix rows and columns. Also scan the elements of the matrix. Once this is over, we can interchange the rows and columns. So for that, you write the column first and then the row second, and to the resultant matrix, you will store the inverted input matrix. So once the rows and columns are interchanged or the transpose of the matrix is found out, next what you have to do is you have to print that resultant matrix. To print that resultant matrix, remember that now the columns and rows are interchanged. So you have to write it in the opposite method, and also remember to give a new line before each row. And also you could give space between each element. And also you could give space between each element. Next, you are supposed to find the trace of a matrix. So remember that trace of a matrix means you are supposed to find the row and the column, and only if they are equal that forms the diagonal. And you have to find the sum of these diagonal elements, which is called as a trace. So trace of a matrix means the sum of its diagonal elements, and we need to find the diagonal elements only if it is a square matrix. So first of all, we have to check if the row entered by the user is equal to the column. If it is not, print that it is not possible to find the trace because it is no longer a square matrix. Else, you could ask the user to enter the elements of the matrix within a nested for loop for the row and column. Check if I is equal to j. That is, if 0 and 0 have been encountered, or 1 1 or 2 2. I and j stands for the loop counters for row and column. So ensure that I and j are equal, and when you reach that condition, you could add the element, that is this element, to an element called as variable called as trace, and trace has been set equal to 0. So it is just going to act as a sum, and you could add each element when I is equal to j. And once it is done, we have calculated the trace, and when this is over, the trace can be printed. Next is a very important question. You have to multiply two matrices. In order to multiply two matrices, first of all, enter the two matrices M1 and M2 and we will need the resultant matrix. After that, we have to check if the column of the first matrix is equal to the row of the second matrix. If only this condition is satisfied, then multiplication will be possible. Otherwise, multiplication won't be possible. If this is true, what we could do is, we could ask the user to enter the elements of matrix 1 and also enter the elements of matrix 2. For this, you could use a nested for loop here and also another nested for loop here. So you have entered the values of M1 and M2 matrices. Let's see an example of matrix multiplication. As I told earlier, we will require 3 for loops in order to perform matrix multiplication. So let's see what is the purpose of each for loop. First for loop is used for accessing every row of the matrix 1. Since matrix multiplication is performed like the row of first matrix is multiplied with the column of the second matrix. So in order to access each row, we will require a for loop. So the limit of the first for loop would be the number of rows in matrix 1. So it would be R1. Next, since we have to access the columns of matrix 2, the second for loop will have the limit C2. Next will be, we have to access the element of each row of a particular column. So the number of rows that will be required or the number of limit that is given to the third for loop will be R2. So this is used to access each element and multiply that with the corresponding element. So the 3 for loops have been explained and the limits have been explained. So using this, we can write the program. So the first for loop will have the limit R1, the second will have the limit C2, and the third for loop will have the limit R2. Remember that while you're multiplying a matrix, while you're multiplying one row with one column, every time you start, you are going to multiply each element and add it to the corresponding result. So every time you start with a row, you will have to make that result is equal to 0. And it is to that result you are going to add these elements. So because of that, we are going to set this equal to 0 and we are going to add the multiplied other elements along with it. So that is shown by this method. Finally, we have to print the resultant matrix and the number of rows will be R1 and the number of columns will be C2. So using this, you have to print the matrix and remember to give a new line character after every row.